Hello, everyone. Welcome to your yoga practice today. I'm Mickey Trowbridge, and I'm going to be leading us through just an all levels hour-long flow class. If at any point there's some technical difficulties, you're not able to hear me, or something's going wrong with the technology, feel free just to throw a little comment in the chat feature. I've got that sitting here, so I can kind of just keep an eye on that. But other than that, it should be set and good to go. If you don't have a yoga mat, it's not required. You could just use the floor that you've got in your space. Could be carpet, could be hardwood. You could put a towel, like a bath towel down or a beach towel down beneath you, or a blanket. That's something that might just soften it a little bit. And this is Musketeer, my handy assistant. And he'll be joining us for part of class today, I'm sure. So yoga is meant to be just an opportunity to really connect with ourselves, to take kind of a step out of the day and everything that is going on, and to connect with our breath, to re-clarify our mind, and to connect with our physical body. So at any point today that I give an option or options that just don't feel good, feel free to skip those and to just do something that feels good. Maybe that's to return to seated, maybe it's to return to your back, maybe it's a pose that you've seen done before, you've done elsewhere in your yoga practice. But what's really most important here is that we're sort of staying in our space with ourselves and decluttering the mind from everything that is happening in our life and in our day. So with that, we're going to get started on our backs lying down. We'll see if Musketeer gives me some room on my mat. Excuse me, buddy. And as you come down onto your back, let's take your feet wide on your mat and let the knees fall in on each other. And then we're going to bring the hands down on to the belly. If it's comfortable for you in your space today, go ahead and close the eyes. And let's start to find a rhythm to your breath. Let the air move in with your inhale and out as you exhale. And then just repeat that breath by breath. And don't worry about breathing the right way. Your body knows how to breathe. It's actually more important here that we sort of get out of our own way. So any tension, any stress that your body is carrying today, could you start to let that relax and release so that there's more space for this breath to come in and out? Any distractions mentally that get in the way that maybe stop you from breathing as you think about something else? Can you start to let those go so that in this moment there's just your breath? And without judgment or even an expectation of being good at focusing, for a few moments here, as you continue to breathe, maybe just notice all of the things, like you're making a grocery list or to-do list. Make a list of all of the things that pop into your mind. All of the little distractions, the thoughts, the reminders. And instead of letting any of those thoughts or distractions sort of pull you down a path, just sort of notice them, but try to keep yourself here really present and connected to your breath. So if you've laid down and become still and realize this is maybe the best thing that's happened to you in a while, you're welcome to just stay. This is yoga already. You can just continue this for a while. And if you're ready to start to move your body a bit, let's bring your right knee into your chest. We'll reach down, grab onto the thigh or the shin. And then take that left leg out to straight if that feels okay on your back. And let the heel of the left foot really ground into the floor. Notice if your shoulders are coiling and curling away from the ground, and allow them to drop back with gravity into the floor. And just see if you can keep that rhythm to your breath. Whatever you started to settle into in your stillness, can you continue that as we start to make various shapes in our body today? If you are craving stillness, I invite you to stay right here. If you're wanting a little movement, as you inhale, let's start to take that left leg up toward the sky. And then as you exhale, lower that left leg down to hover just off the ground. And we'll start to go back and forth there, up and down a couple times. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. How about two more? Inhale, lifting. And lowering. One more time, lifting. And lowering. As that leg lowers this time, let that foot come all the way down to the ground. And then release your right leg down next to your left. And let's take your arms up overhead. Get super long, fingertips to toe tips, just kind of like you're getting out of bed in the morning. And then let's bring the left knee into the chest. Reach down, holding onto your shin or your thigh. And let that right leg get comfortable, either bent or straight on the floor. A couple breaths here to let the body really settle, to mold into the shape. And then again, if you're wanting some movement, inhale, take that right leg, lift it up toward the ceiling. And exhale, let that right leg lower down to hover off the ground. A couple times here with your best breath, sort of like a metronome or something with a consistent rhythm. Let the movement of that right leg up and down start to mirror the movement, the pattern, the tempo of your breath. One more lift. One more lower. And let that heel come all the way down to the ground. And again, take your left leg out, take the arms up overhead. Big full stretch. Feeling the spaces within your body that maybe feel a little bit weighed down today or a little bit tight and grumpy. Just start to let them get longer and stretched out. And then we'll bring both knees into your chest. We're going to start to rock up and down your spine. And make your way up and over into what we call table pose, hands and knees. So we'll come into your all four shape. Your wrists will set up right below the shoulders. The knees will set up right below the hips. And let's start to move your spine into Musketeer's favorite pose, cat and cow. So as you inhale, we'll let your belly drop, let the heart lift and the hips lift. And then as you exhale, we'll round the spine and let your head fall forward. I'm going to go back and forth there a couple times. So inhale, belly down, head and heart up. It's really just an exaggeration of the shape of your breath. As you exhale, the belly empties out, the spine rounds, and the head falls forward. Inhale, belly fills with air. Allow the spine to respond. And then exhale, round. About two more here. Inhale, cow pose. And exhale, cat pose. And again, anytime we're doing this sort of dynamic, repetitive movement in our practice today, can you start to find that place where the body and the breath move in a very similar tempo? And then let's come into that cow shape one more time. And then we're going to exhale, round into cat. Take your left hand, put it on top of your right hand, and then let your hips pull back towards your heels. Just let your forehead rest on your bicep. Some of you, it might feel nice to actually take the head all the way to the ground. And just a couple breaths here. Feel the breath a little more profoundly in the left waist, in between those ribs on the left side of the body. And then let's come back up to center and to table. Place your left hand under the left shoulder again. Let's take right hand on top of left. Round your spine like cat and pull your hips all the way back to your heels. Deeply breathing into that whole right waist, the whole right side of your torso. And then back up we go into table. As you find your table, let that right hand return underneath the right shoulder. We're going to take your right leg and stretch it back, toes on the ground. Go ahead and just press all the way back through that right heel until you feel a sense of release in that right calf. Make sure that the jaw, the neck, the shoulders all feel tension free. Just notice your patterns. I know those are definitely my areas where I tend to hold tension. And then go ahead and bring that right knee back to the ground. And then left leg stretches back with the toes on the floor and really lengthen and press back through that left heel. Checking in with your breath, making sure it's still flowing in and out. And then let's bring that left knee back under your left hip. We're going to just wiggle the knees maybe 6 or 8 inches further back so they're behind the hips. And then we're going to bend the elbows straight back and lower all the way down to the belly. When you get to the belly there, go ahead and let the forehead come to the ground. We're going to keep your hands beside your rib cage. And let's really press into the tops of both of your feet. As you inhale, we're going to start to lift your head and your heart and your shoulders away from the ground, but try not to push down into your hands. So if anything, those hands can pull back on the floor. And then exhale, let the forehead come right back down to the ground. This pose is called Cobra. Let's come up and down a couple more times. Inhale, starting to lift heart, shoulders, head. And then exhale, coil back down. One more time. Inhale, slowly roll up. And exhale, slowly roll down. And then let's press into your hands and your knees. Come on up into table. Take your time. And let's take your hands as wide as your yoga mat. So if you're not on a yoga mat, a little wider than your shoulders maybe. Let's turn the index fingers out so they point at like 1 and 11 or 2 and 10 on a clock. And then tuck your toes under. Take your hips up and back for downward facing dog. So at any point today that you're in down dog and you're just not happy with this shape, you can lower your knees to the ground and return to table. Cat-cow is always a good option. But if you're okay here in down dog, just try to get as long as possible from the wrists to the hips. The hips are the peak of your mountain. And then the heels lengthening down toward the floor. They might or might not touch the ground, that's fine, but they're lengthening toward it. And then let's add just a little tail wag into our hips here. Let the hips move side to side. And then start to walk your feet toward your hands, or maybe your hands toward your feet. When you get the feet below your hips, go ahead and let those knees bend. And let's grab opposite elbows or forearms in some way. And let your head and your arms hang nice and heavily here. Let the jaw release, let the head release. You might shake and nod the head a couple times. And then let's bend your knees a little bit more and roll up inch by inch by inch. When you feel like you've fully risen and stacked your body, let's take the hands up to the sky. Maybe look up toward your fingertips. Let your palms join together overhead, and we'll bring those hands down into your heart. Pausing for a full breath in. Staying for a full breath out. When you're ready, let's inhale, hands to the sky. And then exhale, fold forward. As much bend as you need in the knees is great. Let's bring your fingertips to your shins. We're gonna slide the fingers up the shins, just about as high as the knees. We call this halfway lift. So trying to create sort of that table spine once again. And then exhale, let's fold, let your head completely release. We'll keep your right foot where it's at. Let's take your left leg back into a lunge. The feet will set up like they're on railroad tracks. And then let's come on up, shoulders over hips. Hands either at heart, or if it feels nice, go ahead and take your hands up to the sky. Once you're settled there, let's press into your right big toe. Inhale, straighten the front leg. And then exhale, bend the front knee. I'm going to do that a couple times. Inhale, straighten. And exhale, bend. One more time. Straighten. And bend. We'll keep that front knee bent. Back leg is strong and powerful. Let's grab your left wrist with your right hand and we'll pull up and over toward the right, away from your back leg. Full breath into that whole left side of your body. And then bring your shoulders back over your hips, release the wrist, 2 sets of hands reaching toward the sky. And then exhale, hands down around your front foot. And any way that works for you, it doesn't need to be graceful. Let's step it back into downward facing dog. Now, if you'd rather be a little more still, or you're taking it easy on the shoulders, I invite you to stay here or cat-cow. If you want to keep moving, inhale, let's come forward to plank, top of a push-up. We'll bring the knees to the ground behind your hips, just like you did before. Elbows point straight back as you lower to the belly. Untuck your toes. Inhale, baby cobra. Remember the lift of the heart, the shoulders, the head. And then exhale, lower to the belly. Press into hands and knees, come up to table. And back into that downward facing dog shape. Let's settle here for about 5 breaths. Just find that rhythm of your breath in, the rhythm of your breath out. Notice all of the things that pull at your attention and just keep trying to bring the focus into the breath. And then let's begin to take that left leg up and back to the sky, if that feels okay in your body. And we'll bring your left foot forward between your hands. Again, it might not be graceful, that's okay. We'll come up into your lunge. Hands at heart or hands to the sky, your choice. And once you're settled there, we'll root into that left big toe. Inhale, straighten the front leg. And then exhale, bend the front knee. 2 more times. Straighten. And bend. Straighten. And bend. And then once you settle there, keep that front knee bent, keep the back leg straight. Let's grab your right wrist with your left hand, and we'll pull up and over toward the left. Full breaths into that whole right waist. And then hands back up to the sky. Hands around your front foot, and we'll step forward. Right foot to meet your left foot. Inhale, halfway lift, fingers slide up the shins. And then exhale, bow forward, fold forward. Inhale, rise up, reach up. And exhale, hands to heart. Pausing, lingering for a full breath in. And a full breath out. Inhale, hands to the sky. Exhale, fold forward. So starting the same way, inhale, halfway lift. And then exhale, let's fold. We'll take your right leg back. This time we're going to bring your back heel to the ground. The right toes will angle out just a bit. We'll lift up into what's called warrior one. So your hips and your body are facing the front of the mat more or less. Let's start by taking those hands up toward the ceiling. And then we're going to swing your hands down and back and clasp either thumbs or all of the fingers. And just let the knuckles melt toward the ground. Let your heart lift. Let your shoulders move back. See if you can create any amount of release around the base of the neck, the shoulders. And then if you want to be still, here's your place to remain. If you want a little bit of movement as you exhale, we'll start to tip forward, letting the belly come toward the left thigh, the hands falling away from the back. And then inhale, rise up, shoulders over hips to where you started. Let's do that 2 more times. Exhale, bowing forward. It's called humble warrior. Inhale, rise up. 1 more time, tip forward. And rise. As you rise, let's release those hands. Take your hands up toward the ceiling and hands around your front foot. Downward facing dog. Take your time to get there. Again, you have the invitation to stay or inhale, plank pose. Knees up or down, elbows point straight back as you lower. The pose is called chaturanga. All the way to the belly. And again, that cobra, that baby cobra shape. So let's start with no weight in the hands. Find that shape of lifting the heart, lifting the head. If you want to stay here, great. If you're like, I want a little bit more, start to press into your hands. Maybe lift the heart a little bit higher away from the ground. And then exhale back to the belly. And let's make your way back any way that works for you into downward facing dog. Feeling your breath. And then let's take your right leg, lift it up and back. And bring that foot forward between your hands. So just like the other side, we'll bring that left heel to the ground. Come on up. Hands to the sky to start, warrior one. And then we'll bring those arms down and back, clasping the hands behind you. So either thumbs or all of the fingers. And if you can remember which thumb was on top in that clasp, go ahead and switch it up to the other side. Pausing here for a breath. Let those knuckles drop down. Let the heart lift. Stay here if you'd like, or exhale, begin to bow forward. And inhale, rise up. 2 more, bowing forward. Lifting up. Moving with your breath 1 more time. As you come up, release the clasp, take your hands to the sky. And then let your hands come down around your front foot. We'll let the back heel lift, step your back foot to meet your front foot. Inhale, slide the fingers up the shins, halfway lift. And then bow forward. And again, let's bend your knees generously. Grab your opposite arm in some way. Let the head dangle, let the arms dangle. If it works in your body, let the belly rest on your thighs. And then bend the knees a little bit more. Let's ever so slowly roll up. All the way to standing. Taking the hands to the sky. And then let the hands come together and into the heart. And we're going to settle one hand on top of your heart and one hand on top of your belly. If it's comfortable, let the eyes close. And let's just breathe here. feeling not just the breath within you, that movement of air in and out, but also feeling the movement beneath your hands now of your breath, the beat of your heart. If the breath became a little bit sporadic or limited in any way from the movement, start to let it even back out. And let's return the hands palm to palm right in front of your sternum, right in front of your heart. Let the eyes blink open if they're closed. Let your eyes settle on a point in front of you that's still, ideally unmoving. And then we're going to shift it to your right foot and start to bring your left knee up toward the chest. Now you're working on balance the moment that foot leaves the ground. So if you're feeling wobbly today, just don't lift it very high. And if you want to challenge yourself, then bring it up a little bit higher. If you take a step out or if you wobble, no big deal. Just take a breath and come back into this cadence, this rhythm that you've established for your breath. And then let that left foot come down. Feel that gradual shift of weight over into your left foot. Start to bring your right knee up into your chest. Feeling and noticing your balance on the second side. And then let that right foot come back down. Make sure you have a decent gap of space between your feet. Let's take both of your hands to the sky and just pause for a moment. Feel that length from the outer ankles all the way up through the fingertips. Feel that length all the way from the inner ankles up through the inner thighs, up the spine, through the crown of the head. And then let's grab your left wrist with your right hand. And as you really root into that left foot, we're just going to pull up and over to the right. So we're coming into that sort of side bend shape. And even as you side bend to the right and you get sort of condensed and shortened in that right waist, can you continue to feel length there and space for your breath? And then let's bring it back up to center. Release the grab on the left wrist and switch. Grab your right wrist and pull up and over toward the left. Keep rooting into that right foot. Bring it back up to center. And release those hands. And just let them drop down by your sides. Turn the palms forward, turn the thumbs out. Feel that space across the front of the heart, the chest. And then as you do that, let's keep your right foot where it is. Take your left leg, step it back into your lunge. Let's keep the back heel up again. And let's keep the hands in this sort of superhero cape shape. So we'll start with them down, palms forward, but then I want you just to start to drag them back a tiny bit. As you drag them back, can you continue to feel space across the chest, the heart, and the shoulders? Option to stay here or option to tip forward over that front thigh. We're going to be here for a couple breaths. You've got option 1, shoulders over hips, option 2, tipping forward. And then if you're looking for a little challenge and fun today, option 3 is to come up onto that right foot and take flight. Remember, it's not a big deal if you step out or wobble. Just take a breath back in. And then let's slowly bend that front knee, step back into your lunge. Take both hands up to the sky. Let's open those arms into a V shape And start to let those hands move a couple inches back behind you until you feel a really profound lift of the chest. And then slow and steady, bring those hands forward and down around your front foot. We're going to let that back knee come down to the ground. And then once it's down, let's wiggle that right foot to the right edge of the mat and let your right hand come inside. Just let the hands get comfortable there. Maybe let the head fall forward for a couple breaths. Allow this to be as soft as possible. For some of you, you'll drop in and be like, yes, so good. For others, this poses a bit of a struggle, but can you soften what you have control over softening? And then slow and steady, we're going to make our way back to down dog. So you could tuck the back toes under, lift the knee, and step back. You could also wiggle that right leg around to table, get everything set. Then tuck your toes and take the hips up and back. I realize that everyone has different desires around stillness and movement. Different styles of stillness and movement help us to connect with ourselves. So you might want to stay here for a couple breaths. You might want to come forward to plank. We've been here before. Knees up or down, elbows point straight back as you lower to the belly. Inhaling into that cobra shape. These are repeats. So just each time letting them become a little bit more familiar. Maybe you lift up a little higher, maybe you don't. And then back you go in your own way into downward facing dog. And from this down dog, we're going to take a stroll, feet to hands, returning to the top of the mat. Put a soft bend into your knees. Come on up with shoulders over your hips. Let's take hands to the sky. Straighten those legs and bring your hands into your heart. As you settle there with hands at heart, find your breath once again. When you're ready for it, we're going to start to shift into that right foot. Let your left knee come up. You've been here before, so you can stay with this if this is already plenty to focus on. If you want a little bit more balance, a little more challenge, let's take your hands under that left leg. You could also hold on to your stretchy pants or whatever you're wearing. And maybe play with straightening the leg as you inhale, bending the knee as you exhale. A couple times there with the breath. Just because you start to straighten the leg doesn't mean it has to go all the way straight. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. How about one more breath here? And then let that left foot come on down to the mat. Feel that shift of weight into your left foot and bring your right knee up into your chest. Again, option one is to not touch the leg at all, to just put the hands somewhere where they're forgettable, and to focus on the breath and the balance here. If you want to support and hold on to that leg in some way, maybe you hold the stretchy pants, maybe you support underneath the thigh. You can stay here in stillness with all the wobbles of balance, or begin to straighten as you inhale and bend as you exhale. 3 more rounds of breath in whichever option you've chosen for yourself today. Next time you bend that right knee, let's go ahead and release the foot back to the ground. And let's take your arms down by your sides once again, palm face forward, thumbs out. Allow that rotation of the arms to also open the front of the shoulders. And then let's keep the left foot where it's at. Take your right leg and step it back. Maybe you fall over, just like me. So as you get here, let's take those hands a couple inches further back so it starts to feel like a superhero cape. Using the position of the arms to create space along the front of the chest and the shoulder. Stay here or begin to tip forward, laying the torso over that front leg. Stay here or come up on to your left foot. Steady breath. And then nice and slowly, let's take it back into your lunge. 2 hands to the sky. And let your hands come down around your front foot. As you do that, let's put your back knee down on the ground. Wiggle that left foot out to the left. Let your hands come inside that left foot. Get the hands comfortable, whatever that looks like, wherever that is. Allow that to feel supported below your shoulders, and then maybe just let the head soften and fall in for a few breaths. Let's start to make that shift into your downward facing dog. However makes sense for you. So maybe through table and then press back. Remember, you can stay in down dog for some stillness or inhale, come forward to plank. Knees up or down, lower to the belly. Pressing into the tops of the feet, starting low, baby cobra. So you let the upper back do the work before you add your hands in. And then if you want to press into the hands, lift up a little higher, up you go. Back to the belly. And let's make our way back into downward facing dog. As you come into that down dog, let's take your right leg any amount up and back. And then bring that right foot between your hands. And just like we did before, we're going to let that back heel come on down to the ground. Come up into that warrior one shape, facing the front of the mat. And let's bring your hands onto your hips, bending the elbows, and let's pull those elbows back like you're trying to hug something between your elbows behind your back. Press into your right big toe, and let's start to straighten that right leg. Feeling the energy and the kind of power of both of your legs, rooting down, pressing down through the heels, the quads of both legs, lifting and engaging up. Last 2 breaths here. Really hug those elbows back a tiny bit more. And then let's bend your front knee and start to wiggle the feet maybe a little wider apart as you open the shoulders toward the left edge of your mat and come into warrior 2. So your body, your torso will be facing sideways now, right hand forward, left hand back. As you settle here, let's take your back hand, left hand down the back leg, right hand up to the sky. One more time, getting into that whole side body. So the right waist here really elongating for breath. You can look up, sideways, or down, whatever feels good in your neck. And then let's bring the arms back up, parallel to the ground. We're going to once again find hands on hips, elbows hugging back. Let's straighten your front leg. We're going to turn all 10 toes to face the long edge of your mat, feet parallel. Strong engaged legs. So feet are going to root, quads and thighs are going to lift, elbows hug back, and let's start to tip forward. Heart goes forward as you begin to fold. Let the head lengthen toward the ground. And when it feels appropriate for you, go ahead and let the hands come on down to the floor. Let the spine drape. Let the head be heavy. And then start to press into the ground, lifting yourself just about that halfway up. Repower up the legs. Feel your core supporting your spine. You might put a soft bend into your knees. Let's sneak your hands back to your hips. Come on up. Turn those right toes back forward. Let your hands come down around that front foot. And any way that works for you, let's step back, downward facing dog. Last round of standing poses here, and then we'll chill it out for a bit. So when you're ready, let's take left leg, lifting it to the sky. And then bring your foot forward between your hands. Ground that back heel. Come on up. Shoulders over hips. Warrior one, facing the front of the mat. We'll bring your hands to your hips with the elbows hugging back, and then start to straighten that front leg. Feel both of your heels rooting down as the thighs lift up. Steady, full breath. And then let's start to bend your front knee. Wiggle your feet a little wider apart so you can open into warrior two, left hand forward, right hand back. Shoulders opening toward the long edge of your mat. And once you're there, let's drop your right hand down the back leg. Tuck your left hand up and back. Remember your head, your gaze could be upward, sideways, or down. And just feel the space in that left side of your waist. And then nice and slow, bring it up. Warrior two once again. And let's return those hands to our hips. Parallel the feet, all 10 toes pointing the side of your mat. I'm going to turn to face you so you get my better side. And just like we did before, let's start to tip forward over your legs. Let the hands find the ground when it makes sense. And let's take a couple more breaths here, just hanging for a couple breaths. Let the head and the neck completely release and go with gravity. And then we'll start to press the ground away until you're about that halfway lift shape. And let's keep your right hand on the ground, more or less below your nose. And we're going to start to bend your left elbow and pull that elbow up toward the sky. And then let that left hand come right back down to the floor. We'll put the left hand below the nose. Other side, right elbow bends. Let the torso rotate as you pull that elbow up. And then let the hand come down. We'll add on just a bit as an option. So right hand down, left elbow to the sky. Stay here if you'd like, or reach your left hand up toward the ceiling. And then let the left hand come on down. Last one on the second side, right elbow bends skyward. And then maybe reaches toward the ceiling. And then let the hand come all the way down. Walk your hands maybe a little closer to the body there. Start to press the ground away. Engage those legs, engage the core, hands to hips. Come on up. Turn your left toes back to the front of the mat. And then let your hands come down around that front foot. And let's step the feet together, front of the mat. Bend your knees. We'll come on up toward chair pose. Just a breath here. Press into the feet, rise up, stand, straightening the legs, and hands come together and into the heart. One hand on heart, one hand on belly. Observing, noticing once again. And then nice and slowly, let's bend the knees and just start to come on down to the ground. As you come to the ground, let's take your legs out to straight in front of you. And then we're going to bend the right knee, keeping the left leg straight. Option 1 is to keep that right foot on the right side of the body. Option 2 is to cross it over your left leg and put the foot on the ground. So in either location of that right foot, we're going to take your left hand to the sky. Add some length up both sides of the waist. And then we'll start to rotate toward your right knee. We'll bring that left elbow around the knee and drop your right hand to the ground behind you. And instead of really leaning into and sitting into that right hand, we're just going to use it to push the floor away. Really root into your tailbone, both sides of your hips, your pelvis, as you lift up through the crown of the head. And we'll go ahead and untwist. We're going to take that right leg wherever it's at and scoot it all the way over your left. So the right knee is going to point towards your left foot. And we want the pinky edge of that right foot on the floor. If you try this and you're like, nope, that's not happening, then right ankle on left thigh is a great alternative with the knee just sort of falling out to the side. So either this like number 4 shape or foot on the ground. Either of those, let's just take your hands out to the sides, kind of onto the tips of the fingers. Sit up super tall. And let's maybe close the eyes here, drop the gaze. And feel the breath. At first, let's feel it front to back. Feel the belly and the low back expand as you breathe in. And deflate as you breathe out. The front and the back of your body moving away from each other as you breathe in. Moving toward each other as you breathe out. And then start to feel the breath side to side, left to right. As you breathe in, feel the two sides of your ribs and your waist moving away from each other. As you breathe out, feel those two sides drawing in toward one another. And then go ahead and slide that right leg out to straight. If you need to help it, go ahead and assist. Let's lean back on your hands for a moment and just let the feet kind of flip-flop side to side. And then let's do that on the other side. So we'll bend your left knee, right leg is straight. Place that left foot on the floor, and you can keep it on the left side or you can cross it over. Either way, let's take your right hand to the ceiling. Add that length, add that lift, and then elbow around your knee. Left hand to the ground behind you. Let's take it back to that awareness of the breath that we established as we were in that hip opener on the first side. So just feeling as you sit here, either the front to back breath or the side to side breath, whichever one feels maybe most limited or constricted here. Really hone in on that expansion as you breathe in and the drawing inward as you breathe out. And we'll go ahead and untwist, coming back to center. And we'll let that left leg continue crawling over until the knee is on the right thigh. Outer edge of the foot is on the floor. Or again, if it's better in your hips and your body to have the ankle on the thigh for that figure four shape, also a good option. And then let's take the hands out to the sides and just sit up nice and tall. So for this round on this side, you can focus either front to back on the breath or side to side on the breath, or if you're starting to feel a really good connection to the breath, maybe you start to feel all four directions at once, like a balloon inflating as you breathe in and deflating as you breathe out. One more full breath here. And then we'll straighten that left leg. If you need to help, help. Lean back on your hands. Let the legs do that little flip flop again. Toes out, toes in, toes out, toes in. And then let's start to ease ourselves down onto our back. As you come down, let's place the feet on the ground with the knees bent. And then let's take your right ankle onto the left thigh. Let the right knee fall open. Let's slide the arms out to a T shape or a goalpost shape. And then we'll take both of your legs in this shape to the left for a supine, a laying down twist. Allow that outer left edge of your thigh, your left thigh to be on the ground, your right foot to be on the ground. And then instead of letting this right knee fall toward you, allow that right knee to actually move away from you. Do your best to let both shoulders come to the ground. And just settle here into the fullness of your breath. Again, observing without judgment or expectation, just where the mind goes. It's an unruly little creature. Time and time again, gently guiding it back into the moment, this active breathing, the sensations that are currently present in your body. And we'll come back to center. Let that right foot come on down to the ground. And then let's do that other side. Left ankle, right thigh, knee falls open. Once you're in the shape, you're ready. Let's take your legs to the right. Letting that outer right thigh find the floor. Your left foot finds the floor. And again, the left knee, instead of falling towards your head, is moving away. One more full breath here. And then we'll bring it back to center. Take your left foot back to the ground. Maybe let the knees fall side to side like windshield wipers a couple times. Just a nice little low back rotation and release. And then our next destination is going to be down on our backs. So when you're ready, just come on down on our backs, but totally elongated and spread out on the back. So when you're ready, just kind of get super comfortable. Let those legs come down. Let your arms start to really melt into the ground. And instead of just kind of autopilot, like laying down, let's be a little more intentional about it and kind of start at your extremities, at your hands and your feet, and look at how they're set up and what that creates up the chain. What does that create for your elbows, for your shoulders, your knees, your hips, your low back? How does all of that encourage release in your spine, your torso, all the way up into the neck, the jaw, the eyes? And allowing yourself here to soak up a few moments of stillness and silence. Allow yourself to take rest. Start to feel your breath a little more fully, actively. Allow these next couple inhales and exhales to be really full. really elongated. And then let's just slowly start to add some movement back into your body. Movement that little by little starts to bring you up to a comfortable seat. Take your time. Cross-legged, crisscross applesauce. And as you settle there, let's bring the palms together in front of the heart. Thank you all for practicing together today. Taking this breath, this space, this clarity that you gave to yourself with you as a gift to you and to everyone you connect with along the way. The light within me honors the light within each of you. Namaste. Thank you so much. Hope you have a wonderful afternoon and a wonderful evening. I hope to see you again soon.